Welcome to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him at godsfiveminutes@gmail.com. Now, here's Ed Wilson with God's 5 Minutes.
Following Solomon's death, his two sons Rehoboam and Jeroboam rivaled for his throne, which resulted in dividing the kingdom. 1 Kings 12. Jeroboam said in his heart, "Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Rehoboam, and they shall kill me." Whereupon the king made 2 calves of gold, and said, "It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt." And he set the one in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan, thus establishing 2 fortresses, one in the heart of his kingdom, one where attack might be expected, were Jeroboam's first care. His choice of calves, whereby to pervert worship to God, was a callous repeat of Aaron's sin of so long ago. And so we have the story of a heartless politician who placed his own selfish interest ahead of his people, family, God, everything. Jeroboam thus joined the long list of political hacks who have so often resorted to whitewashing old criminals in order to provide a justification for modern policies. Sin strikes its most crimson hue when it resorts to degrading religion to a mere instrument for getting personal gains. Jeroboam has had many followers among politicians. Too many pretended statesmen tend to look on all religions as equally true or untrue, and are ready to be polite to any of them if they can get what they want by using them. The long history of the relations of church and state, for instance, in the old world, has been not much else than the state's hiring and muzzling the church for its own advantage, and the protests of a faithful few against the degradation of state patronage and consequent control. Part of the bright promise of the New World was the establishment of laws that would restrict the power of the state to so callously interfere with and degrade religion. The priests of Bethel, who were the creatures of Jeroboam, were not likely to stand against his wrongs. When Amos the prophet spoke bold words against the king, it was Amaziah the priest who gave the shameful counsel, "O thou seer, flee into the land of Judah and prophesy there, but prophesy no more at Bethel, for it is the king's sanctuary." How sad for one to pretend to have a flaming religious experience because it is respectable or opens the way to some good position. There's a whole school of consultants who estimate Christianity mainly as valuable as a social force, without any deep personal recognition of its loftier aspects, think it well that it should be generally accepted, especially by other people, as it makes them easier to govern and cements the social fabric. Christianity is something more than social cement. Jeroboam's policy was a great success as policy. It both united his kingdom and definitively separated it from Judah. But it was a success purchased at the price of degrading the religion into the lackey of a court. Samson went to sleep on Delilah's lap, and she cut off the locks in which his strength lay. Jeroboam may stand, finally, as a type of the men who support themselves to be worshiping God when they are only following their own wills. All his ceremonial had this damning characteristic, that it was devised of his own heart, and so it was himself that was enshrined in his new house of the high places, and himself to whom the sacrifices were offered. Absolute obedience to God's will, whatever perils may seem to attend it, is true worship. Wherever apparent devotion to him is mingled with burning incense to our own net, the mixture ruins a devotion. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Temptations to take our own way will often appear as the dictates of sound policy, and to neglect them as carelessness. But such redesigning of plain commands is ruinous and sinful, and is not a good part of outward stewardship. Have you talked to God today?
You have been listening to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him by email at godsfive minutes@gmail.com. Tune in next time to hear more encouraging thoughts from God's Word on God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson.
If you live within the broadcast area of KNEO Radio, we have a podcast just for you. The KNEO Community Connection keeps your finger on the pulse of what's coming up in the four-state area, telling you about upcoming events you don't want to miss, organizations in our communities doing great work, and conversations with the dynamic citizens who are behind it all. There's a lot going on around you that you don't want to miss. This is Luke Taylor. Join me each week as we talk about what's happening with the people who are making it happen. Brought to you by KNEO Radio 91.7 FM and the Sky High Podcast Network. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts.